said he was going to be late, so could we want to get this show on the road and we'll, yeah. Everybody okay? Can I start this?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, great.
You ready, buddy?
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the April 24th Budget Adoption Meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and can we all rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chair will accept a motion to appoint Brian Weir as Board Clerk Pro Tem till we come to him on the agenda.
So moved.
For a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Brian, you want to take roll?
Sure. Daniel Castricone,
Here?
Gary Hefner,
Here.
Kimberly Breland,
Present.
William Clark, Heather Kidda,
Present.
Chris Ganlon,
Here.
Bonnie Takeuchi.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
So moved.
Heather moved it. You're seconding?
Second. I couldn't hear.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're at that point in the meeting where we ask the public if they'd like to comment on anything that is on your mind. We don't have a lot on the a lot in the audience here. I hope we got more watching online. But if anyone would like to come up and speak for a couple of minutes, we'd be happy to hear you.
Well, it's a budget meeting, Dan, so that's how you clear a room.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to number 3, the budget presentation. Okay, we'd like to have Brian begin the presentation. Should we all go? We'll sit in the front row.
Well, we're going to be using the screen, so
Yeah.
I think so.
So we'll go down and we'll sit in the front row. We'll have the budget presentation up behind us.
Not today.
Guys, as you move out, bring some chairs with you.
Bring some chairs with us.
Yeah, bring some chairs with you.
so
Just
there.
make it easier to see.
Got it.
Okay. You can go back to the beginning. Okay, good evening and welcome to our fourth budget workshop for the 25-26 school year. At the last budget meeting, we discussed the full expenditures in detail. Tonight, we're going to review everything presented to date at a higher level and also take a look at the budget proposition that is up for adoption this meeting. Anything that's repetitive at this point, I'll do my best to move quickly. So once again, we're looking at the key dates here. You'll see April 1st. That's when the legislative budget from New York State was scheduled to be finalized. We're now 24 days late. We're working with the best estimates that we have, and hopefully that gets settled soon enough. I think it may be cut off at the bottom, but we have the big date, which is May 20th. That's the actual budget vote. We strongly encourage everybody to get out and exercise their right to vote. Okay, so proposition number 1, adopted budget. So we're looking at total expenditures or total spend of $15,107,619. So year over year, believe it or not, that's actually a decrease of $22,866. Just below that, we're looking at the big revenue items. So of course, for a budget to balance, revenue has to either equal expenditures or exceed. So we're showing just over 1.1 million of state aid, 585,000 of other miscellaneous revenues. We have a 1.25 million development mitigation contribution, which is something that we expect to receive as revenue next year, but it's not a recurring payment, meaning when I'm doing this presentation next year for 26-27, we don't expect that revenue item to still be there. And then finally, the school tax levy of $13,012,591 for total revenue of $15,992,615. It's quite a bit higher than expenditures, which tells us we're projected to operate at a surplus next school year.
Just Brian, quickly, if I could,
Sure.
on this one, on this screen. The last budget expenditures that we had was just under 15 million. It was 14.9 and change, and we made some last additions to the program to come up to that number. So it's still less than last year. We wanted to make sure we covered all the bases.
Yep. And then at the bottom there, we have a tax levy increase of about $316,000, or an increase of 2.49%. And we'll dive into that a little further on the next slide. Okay, so this is kind of, what does this cost me as a taxpayer, right? So for a home in Tuxedo with an assessed value of $98,137, we're looking at an annual increase of $187, or 2.36%. Now, it's important to note that an assessed value of $98,137 is actually equal to a market value of about $870,000. So if you want to cut that in half and look at a market value of $435,000, that home is going to see a year-over-year increase in school taxes of about $93.
Brian, one more here. Just the difference between Tuxedo and Warwick. Some years you'll see that the Warwick number is less than Tuxedo. Some years it works the other way. It has to do with the equalization rate and things that go on between the towns. We're not picking on Warwick.
A lot of people have been asking me, and they don't understand what their assessed home value is.
There should be one more.
Many people have been asking me and commenting that they don't really understand what their assessed home value is. So they don't understand the 2.36%. So if we made it simple, if they paid $100 in school tax last year, what would they be paying this year?
$102.36.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And then, again, sorry, you can't see it. There's a small disclaimer at the bottom of this screen, and it's just a note simply saying that, it's a reminder that property owners they still have opportunities to file grievances between now and August when we actually set the levy, which is another way of saying that tax assessment number that we have right now is not yet set in stone. All right, so here's a follow-up of some of our previous expenditure presentations, which is a quick look at the FTE, or full-time equivalents, of our instructional employees. So every year with every budget, you're going to see a change in FTE. It's the nature of school districts. The additions and subtractions can be due to any number of reasons, be it retirements, resignations, decrease in enrollment, changing needs based on school development, or schedule development, that is, or simply fiscal limitations. At the bottom.
Can you roll that up a little bit?
Just as a reminder,
It's smaller, maybe.
sure, and just as a reminder, this presentation and everyone prior to this is available on the school website and also on board docs.
So when you look at this screen, right, the first one there, the -0.6, that's a special education teacher that retired. We had one of our teachers gave us a resignation letter, and we used that as an opportunity to increase another one of our teachers to a full from a 0.8, and then move Spanish into the elementary school. So that's what we're taking advantage of that to increase programming. If there's anything else on there. One of those -1s, the teacher was out on leave all year last year. So it's really not a reduction in head count, even though it says minus the full-time employee. The employee wasn't here. So what we're doing is we're trying to arrange our people as best we can to provide the best education that we can for the kids and still, be tax conscious.
I understand that teacher was out on leave, but we did have a leave replacement for that person, right? So we are losing somebody that we had this year.
The 1 year leave.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
So I understand that AIS is to help students that need a lot of help and might fall into an IEP. Once they're in an IEP, they don't use AIS. Is that true?
The teachers are supposed to provide level 1 AIS, right, which is normal teaching. Right. Then level 2 AIS are more intense. Right. Level 3 AIS, even more intense. Then once they've gone through levels 2 and 3, if the student still wasn't up to speed, then it's time to start looking at whether or not to classify the student, get a 504 and move along that way. But one of the things that we looked at when we prepared the budget was, in a district with such small class sizes, does it really make sense to pull a high schooler out of the class, say with a certified math teacher, and send that student out to go meet with the AIS teacher, instead of having the teacher in the classroom with a class of only 7 or 8 kids conduct the AIS? That teacher in the classroom is going to be better prepared with the emotional needs that child is going to have. Is going to know exactly where they are in the curriculum, and is going to be able to provide, I think the majority of us think, the most help that kid actually needs. So, we concentrate in the AIS in the elementary school, and the teachers' contracts call for them to provide AIS services, academic intervention services, for the kids in the high school. So this budget is prepared so that the kids will stay in the classrooms with their classroom teachers. When they need extra help, teachers will be assigned AIS for those kids, and they'll give it to them themselves.
Well, I'm just a little concerned about that because 2 years ago, we started seeing a lot of issues in the lower school with the math and the ELA. So we hired a specialist AIS person to help the lower school. And now that person is not going to be used, who was a specialist for specifically math as well as ELA, and we're just going to grab somebody from the upper school to move in and rotate and work. It's sort of like going to your general doctor saying that, you know, you're having a heart attack and they don't send you to the specialist. They treat you themselves.
Yeah, I think with the elementary school, all of them are generalists down there, right? So they're all trained in everything. So we've got the generalist teachers, right, who are contractually obligated to provide the AIS. We've done everything that we could to keep all of the aids in place that they're going to need when they need to give kids individual attention. And we have an AIS specialist who's going to be concentrating on the elementary school. I mean, we could have a teacher with every kid all day, right? But that's, you know, we need to be in focus for what the students need, also conscious of what the taxpayers and the community need. So that's my
we're
opinion.
keeping
You have a different
the AIS
opinion.
specialist in, they're a specialist
They're
in,
certified to do the AIS.
but they're not they're not the higher end AIS person for the math and ELA. Okay.
Yeah, it's, you know, they're trained. If they need to go for more training, they will.
Okay, so here we have a chart here, which I asked the county assessor to help me put together. It just shows kind of how our tax rate here in Tuxedo compares to some of our peers throughout the county. So what you see is just different market value properties and what the corresponding tax bill is for the most recent year. So as you can see, Tuxedo compares favorably to the other towns on this list, and ultimately, when we're talking about tax rate increases, we're talking about what we're adding on top of these numbers here. So here's a nice graphic, which was put together by our communication specialist, Meg McCluskey. The top left, you'll see we have a 100% graduation rate at GFB. I think there's only a handful of schools in the state that can claim that. The top right, we have the 23-24 regents. This is the most recently available data. The gray bar represent our students, and you'll see across every subject there's a wide gap. You know, our students are outperforming the state averages. On the bottom right there, which is highlighting that about 55% of our students leave here with an advanced regents diploma. And then finally, we have an impressive list of universities. These are the college acceptances of the current 2025 graduating class. Sure.
It's not a question, and I know that we don't have a lot of people in the audience, but I just wanted to applaud the class of 2025. It's a great list, and these are really nice results.
Okay, so I'm not going to read every bullet point here, but what we have is a list of some items included in this budget that we're particularly proud of. So if you look at number 2, for example, implementation of new elementary reading and writing program that aligns with New York State Next Generation Learning Standards. I know Assistant Superintendent Jared Kamar and Principal Jenna Park, as well as a literacy team of 4 teachers next door, have spent many, many hours on this project, and we're excited to see it roll out next year. We have, we're still maintaining our robust district-wide security measures with dedicated school resource officers from the town of Tuxedo Police Department, so on and so forth. And, I'm just going to remind everyone this presentation is available both on board docs and on the school website. So either we could take questions now, or unless you have something to add, Dan.
Yeah, no, it's just that we're, we're very proud of, of our accomplishments, and we're very proud of this budget, Especially, I love to see I've told this story before, but we were having a National Honor Society dinner, or function here, the induction, and one of our kids who, was fatherless, was walking to the building, holding a tie. And one of our Tuxedo police officers helped him put on that tie outside, And we're building this relationship between our kids and the community and the police here in town, and I just think it's terrific. I love seeing them here.
We all set? That's the last slide, so.
Just quickly show us the property tax report card. Just stop there. All right, so again, you can see this, this year's budget, a little bit less than last year's budget. And roll up, and right there, stop there. Okay, you can see that the last year's adjusted unrestricted fund balance wind up at 36,601. The goal is to have a 4% unrestricted fund balance. Right? This budget completely, refurbishes the unrestricted fund balance, and we don't use any fund balance in order to make the budget balance. So I think it's terrific, and I think the taxpayers will appreciate that. That's all. I just wanted to show that. Bronwyn, you had a question?
Are we allowed to ask questions about the budget?
Yeah, why not?
I never know what the right process is. I just saw a microphone. I just had a question about the slide with the teachers coming and going. So I saw that the art teacher is resigning, and then I saw like a .2 or a .3. Does that mean that they're hiring a part-time art teacher for the elementary school?
No, what they've done is that we've taken a .8 and made him a 1.
For art?
Yeah. So we'll have a full-time art person, right? And then some of those classes that would have been art had we rehired another art teacher, we're going to use Spanish education in the elementary school. So we're going to use those specials in order to reintroduce Spanish.
Okay, so will there be a reduction in the amount of times that elementary kids go to art, or you're replacing some art with Spanish?
Option 2.
Okay, got it, thank you.
I have a question about the tax report card. The number of that you just showed, 600,000. I think that's great. Was any of that money pulled from the 1.25 that we just got?
Yeah, all of it. But it's not, it has to be accounted for somewhere. It's not spent anywhere. It's not used to, to make the budget balance. That's, that's where we're putting it. We want to make sure that we don't spend that it's there for program if we need it.
But then that should be 1.25.
Yeah, you answered.
Take that, Brian.
So if I'm hearing correctly, I think the 4% cap is 600,000. So that's why we're seeing 600,000 on that line. And then whatever is left went to the restricted line above that.
Okay. So then another question is, people are reading an article that just came out that Monroe Woodbury is increasing their school tax by 1.5%. And so they're questioning why we're doing ours at 2 point whatever we're doing it at.
Because they have a $130 million budget, and their enrollment is decreasing at a quicker rate than ours is. So they've got more room there. Plus, when you've got a $130 million budget and interest rates of 4 or 5%, you're making $5 or $6 million a year in interest just on the budget. So it's like comparing, matchbox cars and tractor trailers. It's a completely different kind of budget.
Has any of the 1.25 million been spent in this budget? Any of it?
Are you talking about current year or next year?
For next year?
It can be, yeah.
So has it?
The current year, 1.25 million, no. That won't be touched.
Okay.
Go back up. Thank you very much, Brian. Great job.
Thank you.
Would I rather pay 4% on my current taxes increase, or pay, I'm just paying double, 30.
You know, Mr. Hebner just brought up an interesting point. If you looked at I guess a $400,000 house, if I remember that slide right, in Tuxedo was about $3,800, and the same house in Monroe was $2,000 more. So, you know, they're also making their increases off of a different kind of pie. We're up to number 4 on the agenda, the superintendent's report.
Well, as everyone's probably aware, state testing began. 3 through 8 ELA started April 9th and 10th. We had a little problem. Well, the state had some problems with that, but we got through it. There was a glitch with the software on the state education platform on the original date of the 8th, so we moved it. The New York State Education Department has ensured the situation's been fixed for the remainder of the testing cycle. Interact National Honor Society and Student Council held a movie night on April 10th for 6th and 12th graders. NISASOT testing began on April 22nd. Students from GFB attended the Mid-Hudson College Fair today at SUNY New Paltz. The yoga fundraiser this weekend on Sunday, April 27th, at the gym from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And GFB conducted a social emotional learning activity earlier this month on perseverance and resilience. Another event's planned for Monday, April 28th with our students. SAT exams will be held at GFB during the school on April 29th. Math state exams for grades 3 through 8 will start next week on April 30th and May 1st. Picture retakes for the district are on May 2nd. Advanced placement exams will begin on May 5th. And our 5th and 8th grades will complete testing in science. This year's Scholar Athlete Award is given to seniors Casey Wanse and Bromley Givens for their outstanding achievements in academics while participating in varsity sports. They'll be recognized at the Scholar Athlete Breakfast on June 12th at the Otter Kill Country Club. Let's see, what else we have? We have Starting Raise Craze tomorrow with a presentation from Jared Campbell, co-sponsor with the PTO on April 24th. A school-wide assembly where each grade announces 3 acts of kindness that they are pledging to complete. This will culminate in a kindness walk on May 14th. The Math and Reading Club and Intramural clubs have continued. Mass state testing will be April 30th and May 1st. The Literacy Committee has met 5 times, isn't that right? Okay, and narrowed down to 2 options for a new reading and writing program aligned with New York State standards, HMH and Benchmark Advance. Am I right? Thank you, ma'am. We're in the process of ordering Wilson Language Training Foundations in compliance with New York State Pre-K through 3 literacy best practices for phonics. And for right now, that's that's it from the superintendent's report.
Thank you. As I'm looking on the agenda, Jeff, I asked that item 5.6, while the board was, surprised that that be added for the DASA coordinators, and I'm not seeing it. Do we need to make another motion
It's
to add it?
probably, Dan, it might be on the electronic. It's
Yeah.
not on the printed, but it is on the agenda electronically.
Is it 5.6?
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so I'll just read that to everybody
Yeah.
when we get there. Okay. 5.2, there's a proposal here to accept the resignations of two folks. Ms. McInerney, our former district clerk, and Mr. Stankiewicz. Personally, I want to thank them both for their service to the district and appreciate everything that they've done. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
For a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5.3, approval of a coach for the school year. John Bauer for modified softball. This takes a second.
Sure,
Why not?
no problem.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
For a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
5.4, approval of a district clerk for the 24-25 school year. Is a motion to appoint Brian Weir, who was basically strong-armed and volunteered into doing this. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it, as we lost our district clerks to a family emergency, and we were really stuck. So can I have a motion to approve Brian Weir as our district clerk and to ratify all of the actions that he has taken over the last 2 weeks since he has been acting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you, Brian.
Yes, thank you, Brian.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 One opposed? Brian, don't take it personally, it's a budget issue, not you. Thank you for taking the job.
Understood.
5.5, approval of election workers. I see a lot of familiar names on here. I think it's the same list as last year. Can I have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the CSE, CPSE recommendations?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
6.2, approval of Tuxedo modified baseball merger. Okay, just let me read it so everybody knows what's going on here. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the attached resolution dated April 24, 2025, athletic participation agreement between Chester Union Free School District and Tuxedo Union Free School District. We attempt to give the kids the most athletic opportunities that they can. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 6.3 is approval of the BOCES budget. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Election of OU BOCES board members. And be it resolved, the Tuxedo Union Free School District hereby casts its vote for William Boss, Edwin Estrada, and David Eaton as trustees for the Board of Cooperative Education Services. I know David Eaton, great guy. I don't know the other guys. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 6.5, Title VI Civil Rights Action Compliance Act. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby certifies its compliance with the provisions of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 in its decision-making and policies consistent with the United States Supreme Court. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Can we explain how this came about?
From what I've learned from our attorney is that there seems to be some conflict between the federal government and the state government on whether or not DEI falls into discrimination or not, and we are certifying that we don't discriminate against anybody for any reason. All in favor?
Aye.
6.7, the business office reports. Oh, 6.6. Oh, yeah, that's a big one. Approval of the 25-26 Tuxedo Union-Free School District budget and approval of the property tax report card.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
6.7, business office reports. Does anybody want to look at anything?
Nope.
Can I have a motion to approve the business office reports?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
7.1 is the enrollment report.
Dan, you forgot the,
Skip the one that wasn't.
Oh, the one that
was-
wasn't on there.
that wasn't on
Right,
there.
okay. Item 5.6, okay? The board hereby appoints Tracy Nagengast. Nagengast. My apologies, Tracy. And Jenna Park. Nice name, Jenna. As district DASA coordinators and authorizes the superintendent to facilitate any training for them in order to be qualified for this position. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
second.
Any discussion?
Yes, are these additions to who we already have as, or replacements?
I think we used to have Mr. Meerhoff, and I think, did we appoint Nancy Teed while she was here for this? I don't know if we didn't. But there was an incident where one of our teachers went onto the website looking for a DASA person, and the only person that was on there was,
I
what's her name?
understood, yeah.
What's Channel or Dashnell or Latchme was the only person that was on there, and she's not in district, so we want to make sure we have folks in district. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, any other discussion?
No, that's just clarification.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Okay. I just want to say that last year's budget, I voted against a lot of the spending all the way through. But when it came time to vote for the budget, I wanted to make sure that people got paid and the thing was done right. So I voted for it. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Could I ask one question?
Sure.
I just, Mr. Kmar, is Monday a fundraiser at Characters for the senior class trip? Are you aware of that? A dine to donate type thing?
5, 6, but I'm coming back to 7 now.
Will, did you hear that?
What's that?
The dine to donate?
Yeah, I heard it was on a Monday, but I'll check with the,
Okay.
check
I
with
just
them
wanted to
before we
encourage people to
send
help them out.
Yeah, I was told that Mrs. Hines was spearheading that, but
Okay.
she would be the person. Did we do 7-1 already?
No, but it's just.
Did we talk about the chess club? I'm sorry, I'm late.
Sure.
Yes.
Absolutely, right? I do believe that there was a junior or senior who wanted to start a chess club, right? And so I think they were looking for the proper channels to sort of introduce this to the high school and, you know, disseminate it out amongst
He
the...
wanted to teach the younger kids.
Yeah, the younger
chess.
kids too. I mean, I know that, you know, GFB is, you know, maybe a little wide open, but GGM's probably busy till probably into the beginning of, or the end of May. But that's going to be up to Mrs. Park. But if, you could work through Jared and Mrs. Park to kind of, to get that up and maybe moving, to see if there's some interest involved.
If there's anything that we can do to expedite that or help that happen, we would certainly, the board certainly would, right? And I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, so did I. I was really out on that, and I'm very glad to see, students take an initiative. So something that they want, that they're going to go out and get.
Now, also, if anybody is interested, tonight is one of the open gym nights for volleyball, so if anybody wants to go over there and get a chance to spike one on me,
Oh, yeah? Sorry.
probably talk you into it.
Maybe next week.
This Monday?
Yeah,
Okay, for the Dine to Donate.
yes, at Characters.
At Characters. Sounds good.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.